All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how we can create HTML tables out of data from Google Sheets in our web app. First of all, there are a few different methods to go about this. One way to go about this is very similar to the way we did this drop down. So just to go over this again, so if I go, this is our web app, there is this button to add record, it goes to this other view, and in this other view we have this drop down, and this drop down is generated from this options in the spreadsheet. So because I have those four, that's what I'm getting here. Now if I go here and add more options, if I go here and refresh, I should get that in here, right? So we could use that same technique and generate our list. So see how we go here, go get the spreadsheet, get the tab, and get all those values, and then we generate this HTML with options tags to create what we need, and then we put it back in our view. So we could use exactly the same technique to do a table, but I'm not going to use this. I'll show you a different way to make it, I guess, a little more complicated. And in a way, it also gives you some more opportunities if you decide to make your scripts more dynamic. So first of all, I have to do some more setups. So I don't want to put all of these on the views I already have here. So the current views are already loaded with stuff. So I want to keep this separate. I'm just going to make another view here. And to make another view, because the way we made our routes, it's going to be actually pretty straightforward. I'm going to make a new view. I'm going to call this one table, and I'm going to call the function for it load table. And that should create that view. Now I need to create that function load table. I'll just copy this to avoid writing all of that. So load table, so that will be the function that we're running right here. That should match the name, and it's case sensitive. So load table. And again, we are probably gonna be doing a lot of this stuff again, or maybe not. I'm just gonna take that off for now to avoid confusion. So load table is going to load a new view, and that view we're going to call, well, I guess let's call table. Now that table is going to be the HTML file here, which we don't have. We have page, which is this, but we don't have table, HTML. So I go file, new HTML file, and call it table. Hit OK, and that's that. Then to speed this up, I'll go to page HTML, just select everything from here, go back to my table and paste there. So that should give me this main stuff. Now in here, I have this page CSS link and this page JS link. So those are our JavaScript and CSS for that. So I'm going to create those, and I'm going to go with my convention. I'm going to make table CSS, table JS. So file new, HTML file, we'll call it table CSS. Hit OK. And I'm going to make another HTML file called table.js. Oh, not dot dash JS. So that's that. So in our JavaScript, so see page.js, we have the actual script we run. For this, it's going to be very similar. We're going to do our script tags to write our JavaScript in here. So that's good. And for CSS, similar to like this one, we're going to do our style tags. And I'm not going to do anything in here, at least for now. Maybe later on we're going to add some more CSS. But for now, we'll just do empty style tags. There, save it. So that should create all of that. I don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. And I'm going to go to page HTML, close this one too. So that's my table. Now in this table, I don't really need all the stuff that I have. I really just need the container and a row for now. So I'm going to just remove all of these all the way up to this. Just keep that div, that's the container, and just keep this row in here. Maybe we'll just keep one column in that row as well, something like this. So I'm going to remove that. It's not an input field. I'm going to remove that, and I'll do 12 to take the whole screen. So that should just give me my overall HTML just starting point so I can get started. So it's a new page, so we don't have to mix this with the rest of our code. Now, the only thing here is that now that table, there's a button here that takes us from our home page to that view that was our page. Now I want another button here that I can click and go to that table. So that's my home view. So I'm going to go home HTML. This is that button right now that adds the record. So I'm going to copy that and make a duplicate of that. Now for this one, it's still going to be the same app URL. All of that is going to be the same, but it's going to be table here as the parameter because we're going to go to table view. And then we may have to also change this add record thing. So I'm going to say show table, something like that. Save that. So with this change, if I go and refresh, I should have that second button, show table. And if I click on that, it should open this newly created view we just made. There's nothing on it. So that just gives us this. So I'm going to go back. We don't need this home anymore. This is the table that has nothing on it right now. Great. So now I'm going to go to Materialise CSS and get their table syntax. CSS, and let's find table. This is one example of their table that looks pretty good to me. For now, I'm just going to copy exactly that code they have, go back to my app and add it right here. So that's our HTML table. So if I save this, let's go back, just verify that this works. Great, we have an HTML table. We could use some extra things here. So we can add a class to make it like this. We can do like highlights like this. So all of that is fine and nice, and you can add it to your table later on too. But mainly we're just concerned about having table, which we do have. Now I want to first make sure that I have a way to populate this table with JavaScript instead of having contents of the table pre-populated like this. So I'm going to go back here in my table. We have the table. It starts here. Table ends all the way down here. Now in our table, we have the head section in this case, which has all these headings on top, which I'm going to keep. That's fine. And we have the body section, and body section has table rows. And each row is basically a row here. And that's really the data we're going to be getting from our spreadsheet in the end of the day. But for now, I want to just be able to have an array and put those array values here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove all these TRs that are in this T body section of this table. And if I save it and go back and reload, it will basically just be the heading section. And we're going to need to add all those TRs here to this body, to this T body thing using JavaScript. All right, so first, to be able to target that T body, I'm going to add an ID to it. I'm going to call that table body. That's good. So that's going to be that portion that I need to target to add some things to that. I'm going to copy that. Now I'm going to go to my JavaScript right here. And then in my JavaScript, I want to add a variable that will be an array of values. So we'll just call it data for now. And I'm going to say this data is going to be some array of arrays. So that's usually how spreadsheet data is laid out, right? Array of arrays. So I'm just going to manually create something. I'm going to say 1. So just some random data. I want this data to show up as soon as the page loads. For that, I need to trigger a function when the page loads. So for that, we're going to add an event listener to our document object. Document, and you have to spell it right. Document. So I'm going to add an event listener. And the event we'll be looking for is the event called DOM content loaded event. I hope that's uppercase here, but I guess we'll find out. This event basically triggers when it loads the HTML on the page. So once it's loaded, we're going to trigger a function. So that's going to be a callback function here. And I have to close the parentheses. That should be for this one and semicolon. What I want to do when that DOM loads, I want to start populating the table. And the table is basically what's inside of this T body. So first I'm going to get this thing. So I'm going to go back here and do document get element by ID, and the ID I'm searching for is that. I'll simply just save it in a variable. So I'll say var tbody equals to that. To this, I want to add some tr for a new row, right? So if I was adding a new row to this, I would do var row. This row, the way you do it, you do document and do create element, and the element we're going to create is going to be tr, which is table row. And if you remember, going back here, see the body has tr in it, table row, and that table row is going to have tds in it for each column. So going back here, so tr. So inside of that tr, we're going to have to add the actual cell, so the column. First, let's create the column. So our column is going to be create element td. I'm just going to call it col1 for first column. That's good. So now if I wanted to add this column inside of this row, what I do, I take that row and then append child. And the child I want to append is that col1, that td that I just made. So that's going to add that column inside of that row. For that column, I also want that column 1, that td, to have some text in it. So I'm going to say col1.text content equals to whatever I want it to be equal to. I'm going to say apple for now. So finally, I have this row now that has this child, hopefully, which is this td that has the text apple in it. Now I want to take that row and put it inside of this t body. So I'm going to take t body and again append child. And the child this time is going to be the row. Save it. Let's run this and see what happens so far. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. Nothing. All right, so let's try to see what's going on. Let's take a look at our HTML to make sure everything is correct here. You know what? I forgot to change this. This is supposed to be table CSS and this is supposed to be table JS because we are supposed to link to the correct files now. Okay, save that. Go back and try this again. Reload. Okay, cool. So we got our apple in there. So we made a row. So yeah, so this was spelled right. Everything was right. Just forgot to change the appropriate links to our JavaScript and CSS. Okay, so now that we have this, so this basically adds another column. So if we wanted to do 2 columns, then we would have to pretty much just do this all over again. So if we want a second column here, we would have to go here and create another variable, column 2, and it should be TD as well. And we'll do like, let's say number, and then we have to append it to our row like this, and then we'll add a row to the bottom. So if I save this, go back and reload, now we should have, well, we should have, but we don't. So let's see. Column 2 text. Content should be that, not column 1. So here we go, save it, go back and reload. Now we have 2 columns. We have this and we have this. And then if we want the third one, we kind of have to repeat this all over again, as you may have guessed probably. So column 3, and then we'll take that 3 and assign something to it. And then we'll add that to our row. And that's our column 3. So save this. So now let's go check it out. So this is all great. So we're able to add so far 1 row to our table using this code. But what if I want to add a bunch of rows, right? I want to add all of these rows from this data. So then this entire code right here would go in a loop. So we would just do loop on that data array, and I would do for each loop. Then we'll do a callback function on that for each loop. And each time that loop will receive one of those lines. I'll call it R for row. And then we need to repeat this right here. Let me actually tab this in a little bit. So now in this row, we're going to get all this data from here. So that's going to be this row right here, which has first, second, and third argument. So this first one is going to be 0, then 1, and then 2. So inside of this R, instead of doing this apple, I'm going to do R0. Instead of doing that 33, we're going to replace it with R1. And instead of 99, we're going to replace it with R2. Save this. Let's go just check this out to see what this looks like. So go back, reload, and there we go. So now I was able to grab this array and populate this table from that. Good. So what I really want to do, I want to move this entire thing to a function so we can use it. So I'm going to take all of this, cut that, and I'm going to put it in a separate function so that we don't have a mess. So function, I'm going to call that generate table. That will be the name for my function. I'm going to paste that code in here. Now here in this function, I'm going to just give it the data. So I'm going to say data array, and that we're going to pass here. And then we're going to take this and move it in here. And we'll just provided our data array from here. Let's see what happens if I just save and reload this. So the same thing, so it still works. So now we have a function, we can just provide it some data in array format, which is a two-dimensional array, and that will basically just load the table. The last piece we need to add to this, we need to be able to get this data, this array, from our spreadsheet instead of getting it from here, this hard-coded stuff. So first, let me go to my worksheet, add a new tab. Move that over. I'm going to call it table, I suppose. Put some information here. Now let's leave alone our front-end JavaScript. We're going to come back to it. Let's go to our code side and see what we're going to do to make this happen. So first thing we need to do, I'm going to go to our functions. Basically, we're going to create a new function to go get some information from our spreadsheet and return it. So for that, I'm going to just create a function, call it get. Well, let's not forget the word function, get table data. This function, we're going to read. I'm just going to copy some of this because it's going to be very similar. Paste there. We're going to get the spreadsheet by the URL, which we already have. We're going to get the tab name, which is now called table. And we're going to get the range. So the range I want to get is basically from here through here and maybe all the way down. So actually from here through here, I don't want those names. So starting from the second row, first column. And we don't need this. We need to go 3 rows down. So we're going to do that by taking our worksheet variable, this WS, and just get last row -1. And it's -1 because if we get 4, we really needed 3. We need 3 rows. So 4 minus 1 will get us 3. So that's that. And finally, how many columns? We had 3 columns. So 3. Get values. That should read that entire range to an array called data. And then what we're going to do, we're simply going to just return that data array in this function. Now, to make sure this works, first of all, I want to just log this data very quickly here. So get table data, let me run that. And take a look at the log. Great. So there it is. That's an array of arrays, returns that. So we simply just going to return that back. And that's going to be our get table data. So now we should be able to run this function by going to our front-end JavaScript side. And we want to run it after the page loads. So after the page loads, we're going to do google.script. I always forget, is it run script or script.run? I think it's script.run. And to run that function, we're going to do that function name, get table data, which is coming from here, the one we just made a second ago. Now that is going to return this data back. So to be able to handle that, we need to add this with success handler to this. And basically what happens here, after we run this get table data, it returns data. And whatever data it returns is being passed to this with success handler to whatever function you provide. And the function we're going to use is that generate table function. I'm going to remove it from here. And that generate table function is going to be this one, which is going to receive that data, which is that array. So I'm going to save this, go back, reload this. See, it took a little bit because it has to go get the information from the spreadsheet and then load that here. So there it is, 1, 2, 3, ABC 77, 99, 11, which is pretty much what I have here. Now if I go 4 and do like Jack and then do like a number here, we go back and reload this. It should load all of that data from that spreadsheet. And that's how we can grab data from a spreadsheet and load it to a table. Hopefully that makes sense. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.